Hey everybody, this is Chris, Chris2670. Thank you for coming to the channel, watching the content. This is just a quick 9060 XT review roundup. Just released today. It's a 16 gigabyte GPU from AMD, and these are the three most trustworthy sources that I find on YouTube. And just wanted to do a little review roundup, save everybody the time, and get the content out there.
Quick version up front for the people who just want the numbers. Against the RTX 5060, the RX 9060 XT 16GB is anywhere from 2% to 17% better at 1080p, typically 10%. It's the same to 22% better at 1440p, and it's sometimes worse to up to 21% better at 4K with more variability there. In RT, the 9060 XT again ranges from significantly worse than the RTX 5060 in Black Myth Wukong to can't divide by zero better in some specific scenarios where the 5060 runs out of VRAM. And to be clear, that would also happen to the 9060 XT 8GB model.
Which shouldn't even exist.
Which exists. Against itself, AMD's ray tracing performance has continued to show significant improvement over the last generation, with it sometimes equating the 7700 XT in RT scenarios.
Which is sad in and of itself because the 7700 XT was not a very ray tracing capable card. For the games at the time, yeah, it could, but it doesn't.
And now that we have the important stuff out of the way, a quick call back to a few months ago. AMD, don't fuck this up.
AMD will never miss the opportunity to miss the opportunity.
Okay, and unfortunately we're back to that because AMD can't just launch a product and shut the fuck up. It has to shove its own foot so deep into its mouth that it comes out the other side. Today we're reviewing the 9060 XT, and as usual, it comes with its side of executive marketing tweets. And we have a lot of thoughts about that. There's also a review in here too. Before that, this video...
Speaking of craziness that's happening...
This is my buddy Jay's 2 cents. I just want to see what he has to say as well.
I'm gonna say it again. This should be a $299 card for 16 gigabytes of GDDR6. And if you really, really wanted to just drive a nail into that entry-level buyer, that person that, like the 60 series or tier cards on NVIDIA, they've always touted is their biggest sellers because they hit the...
Because it's the most affordable for good performance, but they're not offering that anymore. The performance uplift just isn't there, man. Not for that price. That $300 used to be a very expensive GPU. The one in my system is $600. And it's mid-range. Mid-range.
The biggest part of the market of people looking to spend around $300 for a graphics card. These guys are spending over $400 now to buy one today. If you launched a card that is arguably faster on average across our titles at the same price, why on earth would you buy the card that's slower for the same price? What's hurting it is the fact that it's $50 more MSRP than the 5060. And what those prices are really going to be once they hit the market, because again, they're not on shelves yet. We're filming this before they launch. It's just sad to see them copying a model that NVIDIA is getting destroyed over. So if AMD wants to know what their future looks like, pay attention, because you're kind of skipping down that same road. And you're gonna skip right off the cliff if you're not careful. And I'm gonna say this again. For the love of God, please make a 9080 XT. You've already proved the 9070 XT is phenomenal.
Yep.
Micro Center told me, like the employees at Micro Center told me, they're selling 4 9070 XTs for every one NVIDIA card. Could you imagine if you could build a card that is able to just walk all over a 4080 and a 5080, but it's cheaper? Please do it. Please take the success you're experiencing and roll back your statement saying you're not interested in competing on the high-end market, because I think you're onto something.
It would be truly incredible if they could come out with a 9900 XTX. That would be so sick, dude.
All right, time to go. Thanks for watching, guys. Sound off down below if you're...
All right, now we got the good old trustworthy hardware unboxed. Let's see what they had to say about the 9060 XT.
Claimed that the performance of the Radeon RX 9060 XT would be similar to the GeForce RTX 5060 Ti, and thankfully those claims appear to be spot on, as I saw virtually identical performance at 1440p. So for me, the 9060 XT 16GB really does tick all the boxes. That is assuming AMD can supply enough product to meet the demand, which might not be the case for the first few months, but beyond that, we really do hope they can, and assuming they can, this will be the GPU to get. In the current climate, $350 US for the 9060 XT makes it the ultimate budget GPU.
Not bad.
Firstly, you're getting 7700
Expensive,
XT-like
but not
performance
bad.
from a card with 16GB of VRAM. You're also getting FSR4 and greatly improved ray tracing performance, though at this performance tier, RT performance is highly dubious. Even on the 5060 Ti, as these GPUs really aren't powerful enough to offer a transformative experience. And short of that, you might as well just disable RT effects and enjoy the higher FPS with lower latency. But opinions will of course vary on that one. But with an average of 70 FPS across the 18 games tested at native 1440p, the 9060 XT is certainly capable. This also made it 43% faster than the 7600 XT, AMD's previous generation entry-level 16GB part. So that's a massive performance uplift for what should be a 6% price premium. As it stands, the 9060 XT 16GB should be the cheapest GPU anyone buys, saving the $50 to get the RTX 5060 or 9060 XT 8GB. It's really like throwing money away at this point, and I'm not mocking or attacking anyone who can't afford to spend the additional $50 US. I'd rather that you don't have to spend the additional $50 US, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. I would prefer the 16GB model just be the base model. And this is because we've seen in the past with parts like the 4060 Ti 8 and 16GB that the 8GB versions do depreciate much faster and are harder to sell due to less demand because, 8GB cards kind of suck now. Therefore, years from now, I strongly suspect that the 8GB versions of the 9060 XT and 5060 Ti are not only going to be more difficult to sell, they'll also sell for much less than the 14% saving they offer today. Again, I'm not talking down to anyone who can't afford to spend the extra money on the 16GB model. If anything, I'm advocating for AMD and NVIDIA to offer better products at better prices, particularly in the case of the 9060 XT.
And these guys aren't demeaning anybody. They're just demanding that the company should sell their product for a reasonable price.
DDR6 memory is both plentiful and affordable, so there's really no reason why a base model 9060 XT can't offer 16GB of VRAM for $300 US. There's also the issue of these models sharing the same name, a practice that has become increasingly anti-consumer the more inadequate the base.
Yeah, that's kind of sketchy. They used to denote the difference between the 16GB and the 8GB GPUs with the XT moniker, but now these both have the XT, and there's a very different model or SKU available under the same name. So the only way to know now would be just like a little bitty, square somewhere on the box, like right in here.
This model has become. Again, 8GB GPUs in 2025 is a joke. And branding them as XT and TI.
There it is right there. You would have to look somewhere on the box for a symbol about that big to let you know.
Models makes the situation even worse. On that note, if you are interested in the 9060 XT because you like the performance you've seen here in this review, please be extremely careful when buying as you don't want to end up with an 8GB card. And I'll show you just how trash that product is in a video tomorrow. But before then, please be careful when sorting online listings by cheapest first. Make sure you skip all of the 8GB models.
Please.
Sadly, the 8GB version really has tainted the release of the 9060 XT. There really should be nothing bad to say about this product, at least given current market conditions. But of course, AMD did an AMD thing, which in this case was to miss the opportunity to flawlessly crush NVIDIA's popular 5060 series. But at least the 16GB model looks pretty good, at least at the suggested retail price. We just have to wait and see if...
What's the likelihood they're actually going to be at that retail price in store, though?
That is a real price. And I guess until then, I'm just going to have to reserve judgment. So with that, I am done with this review. If you liked it, you know what to do.
Thank you, sir. And then this is our last one right here.
To NVIDIA, it's behind the 4060 and significantly behind the 5060 Ti. All right, so 8GB cards can exist, but we don't think they should at $300. And if AMD wants to sell an OEM POS edition, they're welcome to do that. We just think that at this point, those should be relegated to the true low-end devices and should be distinct. Selling the lower VRAM alternative opens up the door to less informed users, likely not in our audience, getting tricked into buying something worse than they're led to believe. It also artificially deflates the MSRP when people talk about pricing. As far as performance versus versus the RTX 5060, if we come back to that, it's at least better in nearly all instances. It's often around the levels of the 3070 Ti. It tends to be between the 3070 and 3070 Ti in a lot of tests. The 16GB 5060 Ti is currently $490 without a combo and without open box on Newegg. The 5060 Ti is up to 14% better in our 1080p tests. It's up to 17% better at 1440p. It's up to 22% better in 4K. Really just depends on the test, and all those numbers are for rasterized. Specifically, ray tracing in games like Black Myth, it really pulls away, but it depends on the game. As for price commentary, we don't really have any yet. We need to see where the 9060 XTs land, and we'll do a pricing update comparison once things settle down as usual. So I mean, that's it. We already gave you the recap numbers in like the first 3 sentences of this video. So you can check that if you want the quick recap, but the charts are all throughout the review. A lot of tests in here as usual. It is a fully featured review from us. It's frustrating that AMD can't just shut up and launch a product, just like it's frustrating that NVIDIA has to play the games it plays to launch a product. And I don't know, man. I just want to test GPUs and put the numbers on charts. It's way easier to edit those videos, that's for sure. But anyway, that's it for this one. You've got the numbers, you've got the commentary. The pricing is what really matters here. And at this point, I'm just kind of done talking about MSRP pre-launch, because we get to post these things normally along with launch or just before launch for the GPUs. And that means we don't really know what the price is going to be. So what we're going to do is you've got the numbers, and we're going to look at the prices as things solidify over the coming weeks and then months, and do updates periodically. Might be hardware news, might be standalone, just depends.
So there you go, guys. That's pretty much the general consensus of this GPU launch. Is it's better than the 5060. Thankfully, not quite as good as the 5060 Ti. I think it's on par with it. It doesn't really beat it in all aspects, but it does beat the 5060 in every aspect. It has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, which is what you want. Do not buy an 8 gigabyte GPU if you're buying new. Please don't do it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.